We have seen tons of names step on stage for AEW, and I know it's getting kind of confusing. So in today's video, I want to make a roster update video straight from the source of AEW. Stay tuned right here, coming up on Destination PW. Alright, welcome back to Destination Pro Wrestling. My name is Ango. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Tango with Ango. And of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, it is kind of hectic. A lot of people don't know exactly what's going on with the whole situation with AEW's roster. We know that they're sharing talent with AAA, but according to their official website, we do have a roster update. And this is very important because we are just a month away from television. So we are here on AEW's official website, allelitewrestling.com. And guys, very interesting list of superstars, wrestlers, whatever you want to call it. Very, very interesting note. I wanted to mention this, and I'm going to try to throw an image on the screen. When I was in Chicago, I was at StarCast. They had a banner that was basically like promoting the AEW on TNT TV show. I'm going to throw that image on the screen. It's showing All Elite Fleet. Very interesting because a lot of people were thinking that this might have been the TV show. Apparently, this is actually going to be what they refer to their roster. So, I have mixed feelings on that, but nonetheless, if that is what they're going to call their roster, they are the Fleet of All Elite. I don't know. I guess it's kind of weird, but nonetheless, let's just look at the roster. So for the men's roster, we are starting off with Hangman Adam Page, Angelico, Brandon Cutler, Chris Jericho, Christopher Daniels of SCU, Chuck Taylor of Best Friends. Now, just looking at these first 6 members of the roster, these names, these people are ones that we are familiar with. We have seen them, obviously, on AEW's pay-per-views. But I want to kind of play like a guessing game of which one of these 6 would be like the jobber of AEW on TNT, which I think that could get a lot of, that could get very screwy, and it could definitely be misconstrued. But clearly, you know, with AEW, you're going to have people that are jobbers, people that are losing. And unfortunately, my man Brandon Cutler, you know, he does a lot of things backstage for AEW, so he definitely deserves the place of being with AEW. We don't have to worry about him becoming a world champion anytime soon. We don't have to worry about him losing his job anytime soon. But out of these 6, Brandon Cutler is going to probably be the guy that we don't see featured as much on TV. And most of that is probably due to the fact that, like I said, he is going to be doing some backstage stuff like he has been doing for a while. But most importantly, when you look at Adam Page, Angelico, Brandon Cutler, Chris Jericho, Christopher Daniels, and Chuck Taylor, you are looking at a very talented group of people. And, you know, for those who may not be familiar with, you know, Angelico or Chuck Taylor, for example, you're definitely going to want to watch these guys. They're both 2 different kind of wrestlers. One's more personality driven. The other one's more, you know, skillful in the ring. Obviously, I think you guys could connect the dots who is who. But clearly at this point, this is some interesting stuff. Now, keep in mind, 3 out of the 6 names here are tag teams. So Angelico is teaming with Jack Evans. Christopher Daniels is obviously with SCU. And then Chuck Taylor of Best Friends, which there's an update to that, which we'll probably get to in this video. For the next 6 guys on the men's roster, we have Shima from OWE. We have Cody, who is obviously the EVP. We have Darby Allin, Dustin Rhodes, Phoenix, of course, of the Lucha Brothers, and Frankie Kazarian of SCU. So, very, very interesting. When I look at this group of 6 people, it's really hard to choose which one is going to be the jobber of the 6. Now, Dustin Rhodes has signed a multi-year contract with AEW that was officially confirmed this past weekend. With Dustin Rhodes being given a multi-year contract, he's also going to be a promo coach as well as coach in general, I think. I think he's going to be the guy that is used to obviously elevate others and build other people up. That does not mean I want to see Dustin Rhodes lose every single match, but of course, you know, with MJF and with guys like MJF and Shawn Spears, Dustin Rhodes is somebody that can definitely put over somebody who needs the rub, but also I think because of his experience, this is a situation where I think AEW is truly lucky to have him, and it only made sense that he would be there with his brother. My dark horse for this group of 6 right here is Shima. So Shima is definitely a veteran in the pro wrestling world. I don't know what AEW has plans for as far as a mid-card title. We will probably have some news on that somewhat soon. But Shima is the guy, because he is a veteran, I expect him to be there to help others look, just as good. And I really enjoyed the Shima versus Kenny Omega match. I think Shima being, the very first mid-card champion would be incredible. Phone is going off, but no big deal. Shima is one of those guys that I think first mid-card champion, and use that as an opportunity to start elevating some of the other people. And obviously we know how talented he is in the ring. Darby Allin, yeah, he's the Jeff Hardy of AEW, so you guys already know what to expect. He's probably going to do more coffin drops onto Cracker Barrel things and all that crazy stuff. And then, of course, Frankie Kazarian and Phoenix, they're in a tag team, so both of them having their own tag teams that they're part of, SCU, Lucha Brothers, tag team championships, could be very interesting. That actually leads me to one more thing before we get to the next group of 6. Keep in mind, within AEW, there is quite a few trios. There hasn't been any talk about a 6-man tag title, but if that is something that comes up, that would be very, very interesting as well. Our next 6, we have Jack Evans, Jimmy Havoc, Joey Janela, Jon Moxley, Jungle Boy, and Executive Vice President, the Cleaner, Kenny Omega. So now this group of 6 people is a very, very interesting group of people because I know this is not the most popular opinion, but I'm not a huge fan of Joey Janela. I don't personally believe in Joey Janela's character or whatever, and I'm not that big of a fan of Jimmy Havoc. And I respect what they do. I think they're both great inside the ring, but you have to like someone and you have to dislike somebody. And when I look at this roster, those two don't necessarily make me the most excited. But that doesn't take away from the fact that they've had some awesome matches so far on AEW. So as far as that goes, I'm entertained by them. I just don't really care for them. It's kind of hard to explain. But with that, Jack Evans right here is a steal. So Jack Evans, you guys might remember him from obviously Lucha Underground. Jack Evans is the tag team partner of Angelico. These guys, to me, are the ones that I personally think should be the tag team champions. But it's really hard to say because now you have Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, who have obviously become a very nice dynamic. And then, obviously Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega are probably going to be competing for the world title at some point. But Jack Evans, Jimmy Havoc, Joey Janela, Jungle Boy, this group of 6 people is your great wrestlers. Like, these guys can wrestle really well, which honestly, I think you could say for the most part for this entire roster, you absolutely could say that. But when you look at Jack Evans and Angelico, they are just so skilled in the ring together. There's a lot of chemistry there. It only made sense for them to come back as a tag team in AEW. And then, of course, you have Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy, to me right now, I think is a very, very special character, and I love everything that they're doing with Luchasaurus. Right now, I understand that a lot of people are very high on Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley, and rightfully so. But when you look at guys like Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, or guys like Jack Evans and Angelico, or even Private Party for that matter, you just start to really realize that this roster is so talented. And having that talented roster is going to benefit AEW when it comes to actually match quality. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people can argue right now. The next 6, we have Kip Sabian, Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, Matt Jackson, who is also the EVP, MJF, and Michael Nakazawa. So we were kind of talking about like the jobbers, right? Like the jobbers of AEW in the beginning. And Michael Nakazawa, to me, is one of those guys who is probably going to put people over. If I'm looking at the outside, looking in, I would say Michael Nakazawa out of this group of 6 is probably the guy that's going to put people over. He's probably going to be on the lower card, and he's a comedy character, and wrestling kind of needs that. So Michael Nakazawa out of this group of 6 is definitely that. Luchasaurus is my guy. He is probably he's going to be one of the best world champions in pro wrestling. Might be a very aggressive thought, maybe a very aggressive opinion, but I truly think Luchasaurus is definitely becoming his own man. With Jungle Boy and Marco Stunt also being featured with Luchasaurus, I think it's really helping Luchasaurus, showcase a little bit of that personality, but also at the same time allowing him to be the star that he is. Marco Stunt, I don't really know where his place on the roster is. I've met the dude. I think Marco Stunt's a cool dude. But obviously in a world where pro wrestling size and stuff like that, like he is obviously a lot smaller than some of these other guys, or pretty much most of these guys, all of these guys. And for that reason, I don't know where Marco Stunt fits on the roster, but I do like the idea of him being the guy to accompany Luchasaurus and obviously Jungle Boy. So however they do Jurassic Express, that's probably where Marco Stunt is. I don't know if we see Marco Stunt in a lot of singles matches, but I think he'll be the guy that, if there's 6-man tags or whatever, I think he's going to be the guy that kind of bites the pin if they have to lose. Kip Sabian, great showing against Sammy Guevara at Double or Nothing. I was there live. I thought Kip Sabian was cool. I kind of get like this Finn Balor vibe with Kip Sabian, which kind of scares me because we all seen how Finn Balor was used in WWE. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. With that, I think Kip Sabian could have a really good career with AEW. Not sure what they have planned as far as title belts go, but if there's like a cruiserweight championship type of thing, Kip Sabian is kind of like my guy. If there was a pick. Matt Jackson, obviously we know where he stands. He's an EVP. And then obviously he is going to be competing for tag titles at some point with his brother. And then MJF, I think it's clear as day. We all know MJF is pretty much going to be the number one heel in this company. MJF to me is a world champion. I think MJF is probably the best talker in pro wrestling right now. He truly just lives his gimmick, and I don't think we need to say much more about MJF. Definitely a world champion in the future. I actually love the idea of putting Luchasaurus feuding with MJF, perhaps with Luchasaurus having the world title, and the way I would kind of fantasy book it is MJF, in all honesty, I think MJF being the guy to kind of use his mic work and promo ability, to make fun of a dinosaur. Like, I could just see how funny that can get. Nonetheless, MJF's definitely a world champion. The next 6, we have Nick Jackson, Orange Cassidy, The Bastard, Pac. Obviously, we have Pentagon, Peter Avalon, Private Party. So, Peter Avalon being the librarian definitely speaks jobber to me. Again, the guys like Nakazawa and I can't remember who I said in the beginning, but you got to put people over. Peter Avalon to me right now is probably the guy that is going to put people over in matches. Then you have Nick Jackson. Obviously, same thing with his brother. They're just going to be the tag team that pretty much runs shit. Definitely, the Hardy Boys style. And then, of course, you have Orange Cassidy, man of not many words. Orange Cassidy now is a best friend with Trent Beretta and Chucky T. So we'll see kind of where that goes. But he doesn't really talk. He doesn't really do much. And he's like a mannequin that wrestles. And I think that's a lot of people want to criticize Orange Cassidy, but ultimately I think he kind of fits in this situation. Pac is a world champion in my opinion, which is really crazy because in WWE, we didn't really get to see that. There was only one time WWE almost teased it happening, and Seth Rollins still beat Pac or Neville at the time. Pentagon, obviously being with Phoenix, I think Impact really showed that Pentagon could be a singles guy, and I feel like we didn't get all of it, So Pentagon is somebody who's a world champion after he eventually goes his separate way from Phoenix. Again, Peter Avalon being the jobber. Private Party, oh my gosh. I don't want to spend too much time talking about Private Party. I think their wrestling does all the talking for them. They are sick. I think they are one of the best tag teams in this company, and I'm really, really excited to see what they end up doing. I think their gimmick and their characters, but also their ability to have charisma and get the crowd bought into the match, I think is just so important, especially for tag team wrestling. And as you guys could tell throughout this entire roster, the Private Party, the Private Party, the Luchasaurus, and the Jungle Boy, you have all these guys. These are the type of people that you want on your roster. And the main reason for that, guys, it's very simple. you want them on your roster because tag team wrestling is clearly going to show off really well. The last 6 of the men's roster: Sammy Guevara, Scorpio Sky of SCU, Shawn Spears, Sonny Kiss, The Dark Order, and Trent of Best Friends. So Trent doesn't have a last name according to AEW, so they've kind of taken some notes from WWE. Sammy Guevara, one of those guys I think could be really, really good in AEW. Only time will tell. Unfortunately, in situations like this, if you have to pick one out of these 6 people, Sammy Guevara, to me, I really hope they have some sort of weight class title, because the guys like Kip Sabian and Sammy Guevara could definitely, just keep wrestling forever and everybody would be happy. But out of these 6, he's probably the guy that's not going to be world championship material, which is shocking to some of you, because I do think Scorpio Sky could eventually leave SCU and become a world champion. There's a lot about Scorpio Sky that I like, and I just think it's possible one day, and I would be really happy about that decision. Shawn Spears, I'm a little iffy on, because Shawn Spears, I think right now what he's doing with Tully Blanchard is a really amazing thing. I think him and Cody really told a great story, but there are some things I don't like about Shawn Spears, and a lot of it goes back to WWE. I mean, the guy was in developmental forever, and now he's starting to get his break. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's because he's with AEW. But long story short, Shawn Spears was the one who came up with the Perfect 10 gimmick, and that kind of failed. So I wouldn't blame WWE. I would kind of blame Shawn Spears, but this is a new platform to allow him to break away from that, and hopefully AEW and Shawn Spears can work collectively, because we're starting to see his look has improved a lot more. I think we're starting to see something really special between him and Tully. Shawn Spears could be a world champion for AEW, but I do want to see him eventually just kind of move up the ladder. I don't want to see, I love what they're doing, but I don't want to see him rushed into anything. Sonny Kiss is a very, very interesting character that a lot of people are fans of. I actually think Sonny Kiss could probably be something pretty significant with AEW. I'm not saying world championship material, and I'm not saying jobber, but when you have people like Dustin Rhodes and Sonny Kiss who can learn from each other and work together, I think there could be some great stories being told there. The Dark Order, a great tag team. Even though character-wise they're not necessarily the same, the Dark Order is essentially like the Viking Raiders of the WWE, but for AEW. They're definitely the tag team to watch out for. And it's just so important because they make tag team wrestling look really good. Their finisher is sick. And that's why tag team wrestling in AEW is so huge, and it's the one thing that scares me. And we kind of saw this at All Out. The tag team match, a lot of people were saying should have gone on last. But you want that world championship belt to be prestigious. You don't want that belt being underneath any match. And right now, tag team wrestling is way better than the heavyweights that are in AEW. And that's hopefully something AEW could fix now that they've signed Wardlow. Maybe that's something that will help them too. And then, of course, we have Trent. Remember, there's no Beretta on the end of that. Him, Chuck Taylor, and obviously you have Orange Cassidy. They are now all best friends. Very, very interesting to see how that goes. This is probably going to be hit or miss with this team as far as tag team championships go and stuff like that, because there's so many tag teams that are great. But I do see AEW pushing the best friends. It's definitely going to be a comedy character of some sorts. And if we take a look at our women's roster, the first 6, we have Allie from Impact Wrestling, Awesome Kong, Bea Priestley, Brandy Rhodes, Britt Baker, and Hikaru Shida. Amazing women's roster so far. Me personally, I'm not too high on Allie. Nothing against her, just personally. I just think when you look at this roster, Allie, I feel like the best parts of Allie were in Impact Wrestling with, with the whole storyline with Kiera Hogan and Rosemary and stuff like that. So nothing against her. I just don't know how she's going to translate breaking away from that character, being the evil bunny or whatever. Leva Bates is clearly going to be the women's jobber, I think. I don't know. But she is the librarian character. Definitely a comedy character. Definitely something with a gimmick that probably would be used more for entertaining purposes. A lot of people are not fans of the librarian, but she is signed to a deal with them. She does wrestle. You guys may remember her from NXT as Blue Pants. Then we have Nyla Rose, who is the number 1 contender for the women's championship, which we'll see who wins between her and Riho. and that's going to be taking place October 2nd. Hikaru Shida, just kind of keep this in mind too when you guys look at Hikaru Shida. She's officially on the roster, and then some of these other girls that we've seen periodically, Yuka Sakazaki, Riho, like we don't know officially whether they're going to be on the roster. According to AEW, they're not on there, so it's a really interesting thing. Then we have Penelope Ford. You guys might remember her from the whole Joey Janela relationship thing. Now she's dating Kip Sabian. I really don't know where she stands with AEW, but only time will tell. And then we have Sadie Gibbs. Sadie Gibbs is somebody I will tell you guys I don't know much about, but I seen the vignette of her and it looked really cool. I want to see what they do with her. I want to see how they build her up. They try to make her look like a legit badass, so very, very interesting. I think it's really clear, though, Britt Baker is somebody that they really want to be the face of the women's division, and as you guys can notice, Kylie Ray is no longer on there, and that's because she was officially released, and we do have that video as well. As far as the broadcast team, we have Alex Marvez, Excalibur, Jim Ross, Justin Roberts, and Tony Schiavone. Golden Boy, for some reason, is not on here, but he did announce that he signed with AEW, and that was confirmed by AEW's social media team. So just kind of keep that in mind. That might be something that changes. Alex Marvez is not going to be on commentary, but rather in a backstage sort of thing. And it doesn't also show Chris Van Fleet, who we also know is signed with AEW as well. So we'll see how that changes officially, but we know Golden Boy and Chris Van Fleet are also on there. Referees, we have Aubrey Edwards, Bryce Remsburg, Earl Hebner, Paul Turner, Rick Knox. One thing I just want to say about referees, because nobody really cares about referees, but you guys need to know this. Within the referees of AEW, it seems like each one of these refs have their own personality traits that they're utilizing within matches. Aubrey Edwards and Chris Jericho was a great example, and then Earl Hebner obviously being a great example with the Shawn Spears and Cody match. So these are things you guys just got to keep attention to. Definitely small stuff. And then coaches, Billy Gunn and Jerry Lynn are part of the roster as coaches, and Dustin Rhodes has also been confirmed. So guys, very interesting stuff. The AEW roster is looking very interesting. Full Gear takes place on pay-per-view November 9th at Royal Farms Arena. We'll see how the roster changes, but this is your roster update here on Destination Pro Wrestling. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button. Don't forget to ring the bell. My name is Ango. Follow me on Twitter at Tango with Ango, and I'll see you guys next time.